We'll see.
I am hard of hearing, but she hears good if she couldn't hear.
Okay, thank you. A motion to approve the agenda for tonight?
I'll motion to approve.
Support.
Motion by Brock, supported by Jones. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
So moved. Motion for minute approval of the meeting of July 12th, 2021.
Motion.
Support.
Motion by Swift, support by Allen. All in favor?
Aye.
So moved. Okay, so the first item on tonight's agenda, site plan review, U.S. Silica Company, 20837 North Huron River Drive, Rockwood, Michigan, annual mining permit renewal. Parcel number 70164000001 and 7016499013000. Any questions of anybody? Mr. Earl, have we had any complaints?
None recently. There's always some complaints of blasting, but U.S. Silica hasn't actually had a blasting on their site for a number of years.
Right.
So it could be somewhere else down in South Rockwood or no other complaints. I'm not sure if anybody's here to
No.
talk on that side.
I have a complaint. Okay, motion from the board.
Motion to approve.
Thank you, Mr. Allen.
Support, Jones.
I'm sorry.
You should have anybody here to speak on it.
I think, Madam Chair, he's directing that to you. Is there a public forum today?
No, it's not a public forum, it's a site plan review. It's just renewing their annual permit.
I understand, but I
I
believe
don't think they've shown up the last couple of years.
they're here.
I think that
He's
there
here.
is someone here?
Silica is always here.
Oh, I'm sorry. Sir, if you want to step forward. I thought you said there wasn't anybody here, Mr. Earl.
Good evening. My name's Arthur Siegel. I'm legal counsel to U.S. Silica.
And Ryan Zavalny, EHS coordinator at U.S. Silica.
And we're here to answer any questions you might have, but I think your staff has ably identified the fact that there's not been blasting in a couple of years.
7.
And this is simply to renew the permit, to continue the work of, under the mining permit, which does allow excavation by means of both blasting and non-blasting methods. So if you have any questions, we're happy to answer them.
Anybody in the audience have any questions?
Was there any notification sent out about them acquiring another permit?
And this is just an annual renewal of their permit. They don't have to send out notifications for that.
Is this
Gotta come up to
for
the-
blasting? They are gonna start blasting again?
You
Well,
can answer.
The permit application does, the existing permit does provide for blasting, but the company at the moment has no intention of resuming blasting at this time.
Okay. I know.
Do we have that in writing?
You can put that in writing, certainly.
The mine now is actually, it's 90 acres big, and it's 300 foot it's 300 foot of water. It would take probably 3 or 4 years to get all that water out to even start blasting. And by that time, I don't even think there's enough material in there that would even matter. So it's just easier to renew it than start the new process.
Exactly. Good point.
Madam Chair,
Yes.
you said you're moving from blasting to carrying by truck?
No, we don't do any mining at the site or
Very good.
blasting.
Okay, that's why I was curious that when you said it's going to be.
The quarry itself is 300 foot underwater, so it would take years to pump all that water out. It's like trillions of gallons of water.
Yeah, no problem. I know,
Permit-
I've seen your application many times,
Yeah.
but this is the first time I heard you say excavating, and I was wondering where the truck's gonna be covered when it goes out, because that could be a concern later on
Yeah,
for the
no,
residents.
The only trucks that are leaving are loaded trucks that is sand brought in from another company.
Thank you,
No mining's done on site.
thank you.
How come it's on the side of the road all over the place then?
Different subject.
They're transshipping material that's being offloaded from somewhere else, but that's really a trucking issue. It's not a result of mining or blasting.
Where do your trucks go?
Want to answer that one?
A lot of our sand's used for the glass industry, so Guardian Glass.
Do they come down here on River Drive or Gibraltar Road or?
I'm not sure where they come from or where they're driving from, but I'm sure it's Huron River. There's a lot of trucks that are on Huron River Drive.
Thank you, gentlemen. We have a motion on the floor.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passed. Number 2 is a public hearing for special land use. Robert Gee of 2478 Norwood, Trenton, Michigan, requests special land use approval for a child care center at 33340 West Jefferson in a B1 local business district, parcel number 7016299045000. West side of West Jefferson and south of Huron River Drive. Need a motion to open the public hearing, please?
I'll motion to open the public hearing.
Support.
Okay. Motion and supported to open the public hearing. All in favor?
Aye. Aye.
You say all in favor?
Okay, do we have a list of people that need to speak in this public hearing? But first, we're going to have Mr. Agee. Agee, thank you.
I'm Robert Agee. I started the proceedings in order to get started for the special land use permit. This is my wife. She's actually going to be in charge of the child care center, and she would be better equipped to field all the questions concerning that part of the business right here. I was just trying to get everything started as far as on the side of getting the process for being able to get everything built. So as far as operations and everything, I'll turn everything over to her.
Hello.
Your name?
My name is Kelly Agee.
Thank you.
I'm not exactly 100% sure what kind of questions you guys might have, but I have been working in the child care field for almost 10 years. I have also brought my bachelor's degree from Madonna University in early childhood education, which by the state of Michigan allows me to be qualified to be a director of a child care center. I am currently working in a child care center right now and helping to run a state-funded program called the GSRP. And the building that we would like to use is just to kind of get us started, starting with children 6 weeks up to 5 years old, because the building will not have enough space for a school-age program just yet. Hopefully, in the future, we would be able to add on to the building, and of course, by approval from you guys, to kind of extend that and to go further with that business.
Okay, you want to tell us a little bit about your operation? How many days a week is it? You
Yeah.
already said from 0 to 5 years old, so tell us more about your operation.
Yeah, so we plan on being an all year round operation, obviously closed on major holidays, things like that. Opening from Monday through Friday, 6:30 to 6:30. We do provide, or we plan to provide meals at the center as well. It would be considered a warming kitchen, so nothing, we would be super cooking there, pretty much a warming kitchen to feed the children in our care during the day. That would include a breakfast, a lunch, and then at least 3 snacks throughout the day. State guidelines kind of determine how many, I don't know, I don't know, the state kind of determines, depending on how long we're open, to provide a certain amount of meals, and that is coinciding with our hours of operation to provide a breakfast, a lunch, and at least 3 snacks throughout the day. That's pretty much that, 6:30 to 6:30, Monday through Friday.
How many employees do you plan on having?
With the center being kind of on the smaller side, we only are looking for an occupancy of about 30 children. And depending on age range, we're thinking 3 to 4 staff members, including myself.
Mr. Allen?
Did you have the opportunity to review Mr. Borden's site plan review?
Sorry.
I did not see that.
Site plan review for the location in which you want to put the childcare. Have you had the opportunity to review it? Have you seen it? Very good.
We emailed it over to you on Friday. We just received it last week, later.
Okay.
But we did email the review, and we can go over it with some of the issues that the board would be considering now.
Okay.
Okay.
So if you'd like to take a few minutes and review it, because there are a number of things in here that he indicated, and it would help you to further you along with explaining everything to us so we can move this forward. So if you'd like to take a few minutes, we'll get you a copy if you want to read it,
We're going to have Mr. Borden.
or we can have him explain it.
And he can explain it too, but this is more for the site plan on this review. Tonight's meeting is for special land use.
Can you explain special land use?
I don't know who's talking, but we're in the middle. Okay, ma'am, you have to wait till you're called on.
Okay.
And these people are at the podium right now explaining their business, okay? Thank you. Would you like Mr. Borden to go over it?
Sure.
Okay.
Yeah, whatever specific information you.
Mr. Borden, if you
I'm
would,
ready when
please.
you are, Madam Chair. Thank you. So, let me just start with just a quick procedural comment. That is, the subject matter before you tonight is up for special land use and site plan review. Because of the nature of the request as a special land use, both items are in front of the commission for a recommendation. Ultimately, Township Board has the final approval authority. So if you were to take action this evening, it would be in the form of a recommendation, and then ultimately Township Board would have the final say over both special land use and site plan review.
Something like that would.
Okay. So procedurally, that's where we are tonight. So I did issue a review letter based on the standards contained in the Township zoning ordinance. There's really 3 critical components. The first is tied to the general special land use standards. So those are found in section 18.04 of the Township zoning ordinance. And a brief summary, I guess, of those 5 standards. My first comment, at least my first 2 comments, based on the material provided, I did not find any issues related to the request in terms of compatibility with the master plan or the intent of the zoning ordinance in general, or the district in particular. So those 2 I felt were pretty clean. I did put forth a request for some additional information, some of which you had just started to cover in your presentation. So the third criterion under general special land use standards tied to compatibility with the surrounding area. So I do think the commission needs to know things like days and hours of operation, which you just alluded to, number of employees, which I think you mentioned, but I missed in my notes because I was looking for a pen, as well as things like drop-off and pickup times and arrangements. Are there requirements for parents to walk their children in? Do they park and walk in, or do they queue and stack and wait for kids to come out? Madam Chair, do you want me to get through my whole list, or do you want to
Yeah, let
stop
him
at
go
each?
through everything.
Let's go
Maybe you
through,
should be
right.
taking some
Yeah.
notes on this or something, so that, you have it all in writing, but
Yep. It's probably easier just to go through everything
Right.
as opposed to.
Exactly.
Yeah, so, and then I asked for a couple of other items too, in terms of the outdoor play area, what's the maximum number of children that would be allowed outdoors at any given time? And then sort of just a generic comment of any other items that the commission feel, really is important or pertinent to making a decision or a finding under the criterion related to compatibility with the surrounding area. In addition, while this is an existing site, it was previously developed, it is along a major road. I doubt there are any utility issues. I doubt there are any infrastructure issues, but if the township engineering consultant or any other staff members, i.e. typically fire, police, if they had any comments or concerns related to infrastructure utilities, we'd want to bring that into the mix for discussion as well. And my last comment is tied to really the nuisance-like standards under criterion number 5. Really the only one I feel that is potentially applicable would be related to traffic generation. So I did suggest that the commission require trip generation information for a child daycare with maximum of 30 children. I think that could be an important component. And it will determine whether or not a traffic study would be required as part of this process. So that's a quick overview of the general special land use standards. Moving into the specific use requirements. So now we're into section 11.09A, and all this is in my letter too. So, and there are 3 standards for childcares that have to be met regardless of location. The first is tied to a minimum lot area. That standard is met. The second is tied to the minimum outdoor play area. That standard is also met. And the last is related to screening and fencing of the outdoor play space. And because the property is adjacent to residential on 2 sides, you're required to either install or demonstrate that existing landscaping meets the standards of a buffer zone C, which is a specific ordinance requirement, which I can provide you the detail on if you need it. And then also, it is going to be fenced. It has to be fenced, obviously, but we need a detail of what that fencing would look like as well. And then that would cover the points under the use requirements. Moving into the site plan itself, Madam Chair, do you want me to stop at special use, or do you want me to dive into the site plan comments?
You can go into
Okay.
site plan, because they're gonna obviously have to bring a site plan
Yeah, so my site plan comments there's a lot, because what we received really isn't a real site plan. So we're gonna need a lot more detail to determine some of these items. There's really no information related to the building itself, the dimensional aspects of the existing building, parking. While you do depict in general, the required number of spaces are there, there's not an accurate depiction of their dimensions, their location. It's just kind of 2 blocked out areas for parking. Circulation, there's no driveways or drive aisles depicted. They need to, tie in, this all needs to be depicted on an actual plan, so we can make sure that proper dimensions are met in terms of ordinance standards.
Excuse me, Brian,
Yeah,
could you please hold it down a little bit while he's talking? Thank you. We have a hard time hearing when you're talking out there. Thank you.
He's talking about having a hard time hearing. You only come over here.
Thanks, Madam Chair. Additionally, so back to I mentioned the buffer zone is a requirement under landscaping. There are some additional landscaping elements that are required by the ordinance that really are not, we don't have enough information to determine if those are met or not. There's parking lot landscaping, there's a front yard green belt that's required. So those items, we're gonna need to see details on that. There's no indication of any exterior site lighting, so if you do have site lighting, we'll need to see details of that. If you just don't have any, or it's just a light on the building, then, we can work with that, but we'll need to know what you've got or what you're proposing as it relates to that. They do show a dumpster in the side yard, which is the proper location for it, but there weren't any details related to the required concrete base pad, nor the required enclosure. So you can't just have a dumpster in a yard. It's gotta be
Right.
on a pad, and it's gotta be within a 4-sided enclosure. So we'll need to see those details. Signage is just a general comment I like to put in so people understand. There wasn't any signage information, which isn't required at this time, but assuming you do want to put in a sign, you will want to review the ordinance standards for that, and then work with the township staff, because you'll need to get a permit in order to install any signage. So I just want to make sure that you're aware of that. If you do obtain final approval, that doesn't mean that you can just put a sign up. You have to come in and get separate approval for that. And then my closing comments really were back to any comments from engineering, if there are any, or any comments from fire, police, or any other staff, again, if there were any. And then finally, if this is ultimately approved by the board and you do obtain your license from the state, I would like a copy of that license to be provided to the township so it can be placed on the property file. That way there's documentation that you are a licensed facility, and the township can sort of keep track of that under their own property records.
Thank you, Brian.
You're very welcome.
Mr. Allen, any questions or comments?
No, I just wanted to make sure that you are aware, thank you, Madam Chair, that you were aware of some of the things that were cited here before you start to answer all those questions, because you might say the wrong thing, and we don't want you to say the wrong thing. We want to help you. So that's why we want to make sure that you have the information you need, so that when you start the process, you can go A, B, C, all the way through, and you don't have to keep coming back and keep coming back. And that way we can make it, we'll streamline it, so that you'll be able to do everything you need to do, and you'll have that. And excuse me, Mr. Borden is always here to help us and to help you.
All right, I appreciate it, thank you. Did you want to address any of that this time, or?
Well, let's see if anybody else has any questions, and you can do it all at once. How's
Yes,
that?
ma'am. No
Okay,
problem.
Mr. Swift?
My only question would be is for the traffic study, is there a certain criteria for when that is applicable? With 30 students, that would be 30 people coming in, 30 people coming out, right?
Theoretically, yeah, the ordinance does have a threshold, so it just depends on what the actual, would essentially be based on, we typically would use the ITE standards for trip generation, and whether it meets or exceeds a threshold. There's two different types of studies that the township can require. One is sort of a more general type of an outline, in terms of really looking at the traffic patterns on West Jefferson and how many people are coming or going at peak hours. The other is a much more detailed study, which would look at actual like turning movements and traffic patterns beyond just the subject site. I'm trying to find the actual numbers, but I'll find that for you here shortly. But yeah, there's an actual threshold. So once we know what the number is, then we can know whether or not
It would be required.
there are additional studies, correct?
Okay. That's it for me, thank you.
Mr. Brock?
Not at this time.
Mr. Seeloff? Mr. Jones?
Yes, being as though you just received everything tonight, of course you're not prepared to answer all these questions that Mr. Borden did ask you tonight, are you?
I think a lot of them can be addressed, actually. As far as the fencing, the occupancy, the lightings, things of that nature. And also pertaining to the final permits that we're talking, because we're actually in the process of receiving those drawn up by an architect, because the stuff I gave to you initially was stuff that I drafted on the program myself. But we're actually getting somebody who does it for a living to drop those plans and submit them. We're actually waiting to hear back from them and get that materials for you to be submitted at a later date.
And through the chair, I think this is kind of a two-step process, you know, step one being a special land use review, and then, you know, depending on the outcome of tonight and the township board, then you would go to a site plan approval. So we kind of need this first step to be done before they can move on to the second one, which were a lot of the comments by Mr. Borden were for the site plan review. Just wanted to clear that up.
Mr. Borden, I found it in the zoning book. It doesn't look like they'll need a traffic study.
Probably not.
Yeah,
I think
it's
it would
quite a few trips, and
it'd
there's
still
not gonna be that many.
The traffic impact assessment starts at 50 directional
50 to
trips in
99.
a peak hour.
Yeah.
I mean, 30 students, depending on number of employees. I don't know, obviously, I don't know.
They said 3 to 4.
I don't know the ITE numbers off the cuff, so, it probably doesn't quite meet that threshold. We could certainly look into that further. Maybe if the commission does put forth a recommendation tonight, we could have that as sort of a general condition that we'll follow up on. I would like to look at it, though. I do think it could be potentially, because you never know. I mean, yeah, 30 students and 3 or 4 employees, you know, you can add that up quickly.
You're getting
But trip
close.
generation doesn't always equate to simply the number of patrons either. So I do think there might be some value in it, and that's just my opinion. If the commission thinks that everything's good on that end, take it off the list.
Okay, do we have a list of sign-ins? Everybody did receive the one letter that's sitting at their spot, right? Okay. Weldon Fitzgerald, you guys can have a seat. And we can
Okay.
come up.
Deaf guy.
You need to come to the podium, sir. State your name and address.
Everybody here from here.
Sir, please come to the podium and state your name and address. Thank you.
Does any of you people up there live on West Jefferson?
Name and address, please.
Pardon?
Your name and address, please.
Oh, Weldon Fitzgerald, 33196 West Jefferson.
Thank you. Your
Does
concerns?
any of you people live on West Jefferson?
We're not here to answer those type of questions, sir. What are your concerns?
Okay, traffic, truck traffic. The busiest time of day is when the kids are unloading and loading. Everybody's going to work when all the kids are being dropped off. You're gonna lower the speed limit to 25 will help, but that's a very dangerous place. I know a lot of people don't. I can show you. This is stuff I pick up in my front yard. And it's from the traffic, the trucks and boats and stuff like this. This is the 3-pound weight. This comes out of my front yard, I swear. There's no place for kids to be loading and unloading. And somebody's gonna get hurt very bad. The traffic there it's 45 miles an hour and nobody does it. You got pickup trucks that they don't want nobody in front of them, or they want to pass everybody. You got the guys with the Mustangs burning out for a block and a half. You got all of that on that section. So help me. And there's just no way that there should be a child care facility right there, because they're going to be right in the mix of it. The busiest time is when everybody's going to work, just at the same time they're dropping off their kids. And the next busiest time is when they're going home from work and they're picking up their kids. That's my case.
Okay,
I have nothing against the people or anything like that, but it's no place for a child care.
okay, thank you for your comments, sir. Next person, last name is Sims. I think it's Sims. Kevin or Ken?
Checked in on the owner of the property that bought them.
Oh, okay. Pat Lukowski?
This morning I was up,
Ma'am,
Pat
state your
Lukowski.
name and address, please.
Pat Laskowski, 33300 West Jefferson.
Thank you.
2 houses away. This morning I was up at 3:30, the gravel haulers started, and 25 between 3:30 and 7 o'clock. That was the number of gravel haulers, doing 50 and 55, never the speed limit, because the police are never around. Our area doesn't have the police. And then there's the parking spaces. They only have a tiny little space to park, and no way can they get 35 cars in this space. And, what was that?
Tell them about it's one way now. It's gonna be two-way when they fix the bridge.
Oh, yeah, the traffic, the gravel haulers will be two-way when we fix the bridge, when they fix the bridge. Right now, they're only going west, north, over the bridge, empty.
Sir, she's talking, please.
Yeah.
Thank you.
They're only going over empty. But as soon as they fix the bridge, they'll be coming back loaded too. So there'll be even more traffic. And that's the problem with the whole thing, the traffic and the parking. And I don't want their lights in my front room windows all the time. And that's what's gonna happen. They're gonna be pulling in and out. Okay, thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Rich Leskowski?
I just wanna comment
Sir,
on,
please state your name and your address.
Richard Laskowski, 33300 West Jefferson.
Thank you.
Okay, I just wanna comment on the thing there, because he's gotta put a play area in there, and he only has so much footage to put in there, which is okay, but he comes right on down to the Morrison Drain. That floods, that's a floodplain all in here. We flood every year. So he wants to use fill. Nobody can fill there, we're in the floodplain. How are you gonna straighten this thing out? You're gonna let them fill?
We're just here to take everybody's comments, sir.
I know, I'm just giving them. And I know that belongs to, Wayne County is probably in charge of that, but you're gonna have to leave room for them to clean that out. There's no crock in there. Ours is crocked. His is not. So that's all trees, everything. They come in and clean it out. And all the people from there, all the water comes down that way. So that's what I'm trying to say. Those things gotta be looked at. You know, what you might have overlooked, I don't know, but that is a floodplain in there, all in through there. Take a look at your paperwork.
Thank you, sir. Jennifer LaFleur?
Good evening. Jennifer LaFleur, 33350 West Jefferson. I have a letter from my neighbor who couldn't make it, but we all feel the same. It's the traffic, the gravel haulers, morning, noon, night, all day, every day, except Sunday. Get a quiet morning to pray. Besides those, it's tanker trucks, pickup trucks, cars, passing on the right, passing on the left. There is a curve ahead. I've seen very many very close accidents. I don't go to my mailbox. Too close to the road. So we are concerned about the traffic, safety of these children. It is so close to the road. We have coyotes. We have deer that get eaten by coyotes, both sides of Jefferson. There is nonstop traffic. And if they're gonna be there from morning till night, I've seen the kids around the area playing while people are looking at it, and it's scared me. It's just not a place for a daycare. And then, of course, our property values are going down. And we've worked hard. We're all retirees. We're in the last chapter of life here, and we kind of want to enjoy our property that we've paid for. So that's my thoughts. Thanks.
Thank you for your comments. Kevin Laskowski.
Hi, Kevin Laskowski, 33314 West Jefferson. Yeah, that was my concern too, is the drain, to make sure they have enough room to keep it cleared out, because I talked to a lot of people on Ludwig. Ludwig are mad. As soon as they found out if they fill and can fill, they want to fill. You know, it just creates a ripple effect down the road. I know it's about the zoning right now and everything. We just want to make sure it's all straightened out. Thanks.
Thank you for your comments. Arthur Siegel?
That was for the, that was for.
Mohammed Rafiq? Do you have a comment, sir? No, I don't. Okay. I didn't know. No more comments from anybody? Will? Oh, yes, I'm sorry. I didn't see an address here.
That was my wife just speaking. I live at 33503 West Jefferson. There is some major traffic concerns. There is no shoulder on that highway. The speed limit is 45. I was washing my car in the driveway before we came. There was a hot rod going by at about 90 miles an hour. He's got nitrous in his car. This guy lives down the road. He runs up and down the highway. During the day, we've had a minimum of 50 gravel haulers. Right now, they're hauling empty, going to the quarry. Once the bridge is repaired, they're going to be doing the double route. In the past, we've had probably 300 to 400 gravel trains a day. And then there's people coming up behind them, and naturally, they may want to pass them. My wife almost got hit head-on pulling out of our driveway. There was an accident. The guy passed the garbage truck, and he ended up in the ditch so he wouldn't hit her head-on. There is no room to pass. Now, you put 35 cars, well, you're saying 30 kids, you're going to have 30 cars dropping off and probably 6 to 8 cars for people working there. Then you're going to have room for the dumpster pickup. You're going to have maybe food. I don't know what their food prep situation is going to be, but they have to supply meals. That may be something else to address. Also, the property, if you look at it, I don't know if you have satellite pictures of the property with the property lines, and it shows the Morrison Drain right in the back. To the north side of the property, which would be where they're planning on the play area next to the building, that has got a slope about like that, and you have to have a level playground for children. They're going to have to fill it. The back is even more steep, and you're looking at that drain area. I think you're going to create flooding problems for all the houses in there. So it's just really not a good setup for it. The building is very close to the road, if you look at the drawing too. If it was set back in the property, you had parking available and all that. Right now, there's not even a driveway going to the garage. That driveway in there is for the restaurant that isn't operational next door. So that's all things they have to address anyway, so that's what I have to say. Thanks for listening.
Thank you, sir. Anybody else that didn't sign up?
So one other thing, if I may, I have a letter from the people that live directly across the street. They submitted, they were on vacation, they just came home. That's the two people. That is probably my wife's email. They handed that to me today. They had to go back out on their boat. That's the two properties directly across the street.
Okay,
I live across the street next to them. They live right directly next to that property.
Okay, we'll submit it for our public record. Ma'am, you can come up here and state your name and address.
Gloria Easy. I live at 33196 West Jefferson. When they talk about the Morrison Drain and all, right now when we have a heavy rain, the rain goes under our house. We get just to the bottom of the 2x4 or 2x6. It will cover maybe 2 inches there. It doesn't come all the way up. If they fill in there, we are guaranteed we will have a flood. And adding to all the truck traffic and everything with the Metro Park and the Lee Road Marina, we get all of the boat traffic, the trucks that pull the boats. On top of that now, school's coming, we're gonna have all the school buses. I don't think anyone thinks about them. What do you want us to do if you let this go in and they start filling in? We guaranteed are gonna get flooded. We're in the Morrison Drain. That's all I gotta say.
Thank you.
What about the flood insurance?
Yeah, we just searched to get flood insurance.
Okay, since there's no one else, a motion to close the public hearing?
Go ahead, yeah.
Can I finish answer some of the concerns from the public at this time or no?
Sure.
Okay. Being I hear a lot of people are concerned with a filling issue. We have no intentions of putting extra dirt or changing anything to do with the land itself. We have no intentions on filling anything, so it should not affect the drainage issue that everybody seems to be concerned about at this time. Also, with the trucking using that route, unfortunately, I don't really have any control over what routes these trucking companies use. I don't have control over how people get their boats to the marina. What we are trying to do is provide quality childcare to the people in the Gibraltar, Flat Rock, Brownstown area, because we are seeing a need. I'm sorry.
You're fine.
Madam Chair, can I ask a question?
Don't take anything personal. Everybody has an opinion.
No, I know.
It's fine.
Madam Chair, can I ask a question? Do you know the next closest child care facility in the area?
The only childcare facilities that we have found are, I'm very passionate about this, I'm sorry.
It's okay.
There looks to be an in-home daycare center and a Champions program. Outside of that, it doesn't look to be in our immediate area to be a childcare facility like what we're trying to create here for the community. And that's one of the reasons why we picked this location.
Sure.
Really, also, as far as like the draining situation, we don't have any plans at all to backfill that drainage ditch area. As far as leveling out the back, because I heard there was some concerns about leveling out the yard or the back area where we're trying to build we can get like a gradual incline where it's fine and where it shouldn't present a huge issue or issue at all for flooding our neighbors. Because obviously, as being part of the community, we want to be a good neighbor, and we want to make sure that we don't put any kind of burden or undue burden on our neighbors as well. That's why one of the reasons why we came out, I knocked on the neighbor's door. We were asking them to know what we were doing and see if their issue. And as part of, from what I've understood, is that previous tenant there was a biker
Motorcycle
club. We're not trying to do anything like that, obviously. I completely sympathize with the concerns with the traffic and things like that nature. But if you really look at it, our opening hours of business is only going to be in that morning, and then for pickup, that huge part during the middle of the day, we're not going to have people coming in and out because we want to have a secure facility where those children are safe. And there's going to be adequate fencing. We've looked at that. We looked at security systems, magnetic lock doors, things to provide safety for these children, because that's our first priority as a child care facility, is the safety and welfare of the children. And obviously, to educate them and help them be successful in going into the public education system and give them that, that foundation to really build upon. And that's why my wife's been doing this for years. She's actually was a director at a child care center in Livonia. And you see she's pretty passionate about what she does. We just want to assure the community and all of you that we want to come in and make a good, a better community. We don't want to bring down property values. We want to upkeep that property, because right now, there's a lot of work that needs to be done to it, and we're committed to making that work happen and building up that community, making it look something and be something the community can be proud of. And that's what we're committing ourselves to and want you guys to know this evening. So I thank you guys for your time. That's really, as far as the other concerns that we addressed for, if we want to go through them itemized, we can do that now. If we want to wait till the other meeting, it's fine, because I know you said that was part of the land use.
Site plan.
Site plan, sorry. But we'll have those materials for you as fast as possible. We're already working on it for that as well. But with that, hopefully, you guys make the decision to help us add to the community and actually make it something that we can all be proud of. Thank you, guys.
Thank you. Mr. Brock, you were...
Yeah, I just got a couple comments. As far as filling in the drain back there, that's all regulated by Wayne County and the state of Michigan. So if they wanted to do any kind of filling or anything like that back there in the floodplain, they would have to get the appropriate permits to do such. And I know, like, with Eagle, the state of Michigan, you'd have to provide compensating cut for any kind of fill that you would put in there. So it's highly unlikely that they would do any kind of fill back there. I've been back there, when it was Pioneer Drywall. I used to go back there with Jay, in the back and have some bonfires once in a while. And it's not that steep back there. I mean, it's not too bad. And talking about the traffic a little bit, you had Pioneer Drywall there, which generated a bunch of traffic. And right next door was Fountain Homes headquarters. And I tell you what, on a Friday afternoon, there would be probably 100 contractors there waiting for payments, getting in and out of there. And at the time, there wasn't really that much of a traffic issue. Now, this is a lot less of an intense use than those two. So, as far as traffic goes, I don't really see it being an issue. However, if we need to visit the traffic, there are items within our zoning ordinance that could trigger a traffic impact study. So that would be looked at during the next site plan process. And then, I think that's, the only couple things I wanted to say. But.
Anybody else on the commission? Okay.
Yes, I did have a question, Madam Chair. My understanding is the screening and fencing compliance is part of the special land use, and we haven't heard from the applicant with regard to what they're going to do for that.
It's part of the site plan review. They're going to have to bring a site plan back for us.
Yeah, those are the
tonight.
use requirements. So they would typically be evaluated as part of a site plan, but yeah, those are absolutely, for this type of use, you have to provide those. So, yeah, if we're gonna look at it in those terms, then that would be a requirement, if and when we do get a real site plan, sorry.
Those doubles are rolling when they come by and they blow your garbage cans over before they've been dumped.
Okay, can we have a motion to close the public hearing, please?
I'll motion to close.
So move.
Motion by Brock, supported by Allen. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, what's the pleasure of the commission? Do we need to table this till we get a formal site plan review and then we can go over everything? Or do you want to just approve the special land use with the condition to bring a site plan back?
Yeah, I'll make a motion to approve the special land use.
I'll support.
Okay.
Recommend.
Recommend this.
Recommend to the
Approval.
Motion by Brock, supported by Swift, to recommend approval to the Township Board with a site plan review to come back to the Planning Commission. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carried. Thank you, everybody, for coming.
We've got one more item.
Yep. Next on our agenda is staff report. Do you need me to read this aloud, or, okay. wait till it quiets down a little bit. Because they like to talk. Okay, staff report. Item 1, a letter received dated July 28, 2021 from Shakil Ahmed, President of the Islamic Association of Michigan, requesting the commission to consider an amendment to the zoning ordinance to allow a new cemetery. You, Mr. Earl, or you, Mr. Warden? Which one is it?
I can defer over to Mr. Gordon.
Thank you, Chuck.
For this, but let's hear what Mr. Gordon has to say.
Yeah, thanks, Madam Chair. Thanks, Chuck. I'm trying to catch up here. Give me 1 second. So I just got this tonight, so I've not read the letter yet, but based on my discussion with Chuck and my understanding of previous conversations, it's my understanding that you've received this letter, and the owner of a religious institution is looking to establish a new cemetery under the provisions of the township zoning ordinance. Establishment of a new cemetery is not an allowable use. Existing cemeteries are allowed to remain. They may be expanded, modified, et cetera, with, I believe, special land use and site plan approval. So there is a process in place for existing cemeteries only. You also, as a township, in the fact of the way the ordinance is written, you do not have, as a township, not the commission, as a township, your zoning board of appeals does not have the ability to hear or grant use variances. So the only mechanism that would essentially be viable to allowing for this would be in the form of an ordinance amendment. So this would be something that would have to change, not only as it relates to the property in question, but you need to understand all of the possible outcomes when you're amending the ordinance, and because it would be a township-wide change. So you can't just change it for a property.
Right.
So it would be tied, if we're going to, and again, this is all hypothetical, because ultimately it would take an action of the township board, not just the commission. So if ultimately the commission were to review it, conduct a hearing, make a change, the board approved it, it would be applicable to all properties within that zoning designation in terms of the use process. And again, I was trying to look up the use table. I believe it is a special land use, if I'm not
Yeah,
mistaken.
it's 1103.
Thank you. So I think the intent tonight was really just to prompt a discussion, is my guess.
Yes, I did want to bring it forward as an informational to the commission. I would ask if the commission would have Mr. Gordon possibly prepare his overview and
Put it in the letter form.
Put it in a letter form. Sure. A review of what could possibly happen if this text amendment is approved within the zoning ordinance. So I would ask for Mr. Gordon's insight and a review letter on that.
Thank you.
But the intent of this was to bring it forward to the commission.
To have him do the letter.
To have him do it.
Yeah, that's a big ask. All set, Mr. Borden?
Absolutely.
Administrative review. Do we have anybody from the public who would like to speak? One man there, the troublemaker. Okay, motion would be in order to adjourn.
Support.
Motion by Jones, supported by Brock. All in favor?
Aye.
So moved.